Two relatives of the late Iranian General Qasem Soleimani are now in federal custody tonight after being arrested by immigration agents here in Los Angeles.
Media. These women publicly supported the IRGC, that's Iran's military, that's designated a foreign terrorist organization here in the United States. The Trump administration says that amounts to material support in this case. So take a look at these.
Around 11:43 p.m., scanner traffic cracked across Los Angeles like broken glass. Black SUVs rolled past shuttered hedges in Bel Air, a helicopter cut a slow arc over the canyon, and 3 federal channels lit up at once. What looked like a quiet property check was already mutating into something far larger. The mansion sat above Stonecrest Drive, hidden behind olive trees, imported limestone, and cameras nested so carefully into the walls they looked ornamental. By the time the first surveillance van settled 2 blocks away, the house had already triggered the first anomaly. Not at the gate, inside the network. Operation Cinder Vault had been built for exactly this kind of night. A joint push assembled through the FBI's Los Angeles field office, ICE Homeland Security Investigations, and a sealed DOJ task group working out of a federal suite downtown. Its target package carried a name that made every briefing room go quiet. General Qasem Soleimani, not the man in any literal sense, but an estate, a funding spine, and a private command environment allegedly curated in his shadow by intermediaries tied to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The property in Los Angeles had circulated for months as rumor, then as a protected shell, then as a financial ghost, threaded through shell companies in Delaware, Panama, and the United Arab Emirates. At 11:51 p.m., a white cargo van eased down from Mulholland Drive and parked without headlights. No delivery markings, no plates that matched DMV records. The driver was later identified only through internal seal as Elias Veron, a financial courier working under the front organization Meridian Cultural Exchange Foundation, a polished nonprofit that hosted museum events in Beverly Hills, funded student panels at UCLA, and moved money with the elegance of a symphony. The foundation looked charitable on paper. Its books carried the smell of fuel, copper wiring, offshore debt, and covert procurement. Inside the command post, Special Agent Nora Keene watched the thermal overlays stack across 3 displays. 2 warm bodies near the kitchen, 4 on the second level, 1 in a detached structure near the pool, another signal below grade, too deep for a basement lounge, too stable for a generator room. That sealed level raised suspicion. It wasn't just the mansion, it was what the house was protecting. At 11:57 p.m., a short burst, cyber intrusion, hit the city utility monitor tied to the residence. Streetlights along a narrow stretch of Stonecrest Drive blinked out in sequence. Not the whole block, just 86 yards of roadway leading to the service gate. The system failure lasted 14 seconds, but it was enough to blind 2 municipal traffic cameras and corrupt a plate reader archive feeding West Los Angeles patrol grids. No outside breach, internal. Somebody had fed the attackers the routing tree from inside a federal channel because the malware mirrored a sandbox signature known only to cleared personnel attached to Cinder Vault. Keene said nothing for 3 seconds, then ordered the trace team to isolate every live credential on the operation. Less than 10 minutes later, our DOJ liaison, Marcus Vale, arrived in the mobile command trailer with a printed transfer sheet in his hand and rain on his collar. Even though the night was dry, he had driven in from downtown Los Angeles after reviewing emergency seizure warrants signed under a confidential magistrate order. He should not have known the cyber architecture, yet he flinched when Keene looked at him. The mansion itself had been purchased through Ardent Harbor Holdings for $38.6 million, renovated over 19 months, and wrapped in restoration permits that described the subterranean work as seismic reinforcement. Contractors from Glendale, Burbank, and Pasadena had come and gone without seeing the full blueprint because the jobs had been divided into slices. No one crew touched the whole skeleton, no one except the architect of the hidden level. At 12:04 a.m., your tactical units advanced from the west retaining wall, while a secondary team moved up through a landscaped cut behind the guest house. An FBI breaching element reached the service entry first, silent tools working against imported steel doors that had no manufacturer marks. ICE units pinned the rear corridor and detained 2 private guards before either could broadcast. The front door stayed untouched. The real entry was through the spine of the house. Inside, the mansion smelled of cedar oil, stone dust, and expensive disuse. A dining hall lined with Safavid-style reproductions opened into a gallery corridor where half the paintings hung slightly away from the wall, concealing climate control sensors and fiber runs. In the library, one bookshelf failed the thermal sweep by 2.7 degrees. Before anyone reacted, your teams initiated entry on the concealed pivot door. Behind it was a stairwell descending 27 feet. The lower level did not resemble a luxury bunker, it resembled a compact embassy. There were encrypted workstations, satellite relay hardware, air-gapped drives, a language lab, and a map wall stretching across 19 feet of reinforced concrete. Pins and route markings connected Los Angeles to Long Beach, San Pedro, Mexico City, Vancouver, Istanbul, and Beirut. One coded column referenced cargo manifests. Another indexed donor streams. A third listed street code names for safe movement corridors through Southern California. Stone Crest was only the residence. Harbor Lantern was the street code name. That was the route. One room deeper, agents found the artifact that would define the night. It was not gold, cash, or weapons, and it was a crimson leather ledger sealed in a brushed metal case and marked with a hand-stamped emblem that did not belong to any public institution. Inside were handwritten columns, account references, initials, vessel numbers, property tags, and a page titled simply Archive 47. That ledger changed the operation from seizure to exposure because buried among the transfers were references to 12 art shipments, 7 port clearances, 3 campaign donation laundering chains, and 1 Los Angeles municipal contract flagged for influence purchase. What seemed like hidden wealth turned into infrastructure. At 12:16 a.m., the first false calm shattered. A line technician at the Department of Water and Power substation serving Upper Bel Air reported a voltage misread. Then a courthouse evidence server in downtown Los Angeles dropped connectivity. Then 2 federal tablets inside the command trailer displayed the same phantom login banner before going black. The cyber attack had reappeared, this time piggybacking on credentials from the operation's sealed evidence intake queue. The trace team followed it east through a relay cluster, then south, then unexpectedly back into the federal stack. It landed on Marcus Vale, not his device, his authorization token. Vale backed toward the trailer door and insisted his credentials had been cloned. But the system log showed manual elevation from inside the DOJ relay room at 9:28 p.m., hours before the first team left for Bel Air. He had pre-cleared access to seizure windows, digital evidence locks, and municipal support channels. He could blind cameras, delay warrants, and reroute police if he chose. Nothing external. It came from inside. He ran. He got as far as the retaining wall before agents took him down under a jacaranda tree with purple petals scattered across his suit jacket like confetti from a funeral. By 12:23 a.m., word had escaped the perimeter. Residents on Roscommare Road and Bellagio Road were filming rotor wash over the ridgeline. A producer at KTLA caught chatter about federal vehicles massing in Bel Air. Social feeds began folding rumor into spectacle. Some posts claimed cartel ties, others shouted foreign intelligence. A helicopter image, blurry and tilted, showed the limestone facade glowing under tactical lamps, and within minutes, the mansion became a public obsession. No one outside the perimeter knew about the lower level. No one knew about Archive 47. That secrecy lasted exactly 8 more minutes. At 12:31 a.m., nearly a second team fanned out toward downtown Los Angeles, where Meridian Cultural Exchange Foundation operated from a polished office on the 28th floor of a tower near Grand Avenue. Another warrant team hit a warehouse in San Pedro tied to customs paperwork flagged in the ledger. A third unit moved toward a private hangar near Van Nuys. Simultaneously, port investigators in Long Beach began freezing container transfers tied to Ardent Harbor Holdings and two related entities, Saffron Meridian Logistics and Caspian Gate Consulting. The city suddenly had too many doors opening at once, and every one of them led back to Bel Air. In the downtown office, agents discovered donor walls, gala photographs, and framed commendations from cultural partners in London, Paris, and Washington, D.C. The charity floor looked immaculate. And then a forensic accountant lifted a floor safe disguised behind event brochures and found stacked passports, bearer bonds, and a compact drive labeled Orpheus Node. That name matched a notation in the ledger. Orpheus was the payment bridge. The San Pedro warehouse told a rougher story. Hidden behind crates of ceramic tile and museum shipping materials were custom electronics housings, drone stabilizer components, and precision milling equipment shipped in parts small enough to avoid immediate export scrutiny. Nothing was assembled there. Everything was staged, documented, redirected. Los Angeles was not the endpoint. Los Angeles was the hinge. At 12:44 a.m., Keene returned to the underground level and found one terminal still warm. Its screen had been wiped, but the desk beneath it held a folded route card and one handwritten phrase in Farsi beside a string of numbers that matched a secure contact tree. The card traced a chain running from Bel Air to Istanbul, then to Beirut, then back through shell entities in Mexico and California, real estate trusts. That should have been the climax. It wasn't, because in the detached pool house, agents had detained a man initially logged as domestic staff. He carried no phone, no wallet, and no visible insignia. Under secondary screening, a stitched seam inside his coat concealed a wafer-thin transmitter already cracked from an attempted burn. The device had sent one compressed burst at 12:07 a.m. just after breach, and the burst targeted not Tehran, not Damascus, not any foreign capital everyone expected. It went to Santa Monica, a leased data suite. The system trace redirected there within minutes. By 12:52 a.m., another federal convoy was threading through Wilshire traffic toward the coast. Lights off, radios clipped low. The Santa Monica site turned out to be a mirrored server farm housed above a boutique post-production company called Blue Atlas Media Works, a business that edited commercials by day and rented render time by night. Behind soundproof walls and humming racks, technicians discovered cloned credential vaults, synthetic identities, and a node configured to spoof city infrastructure alerts. The cyber attack had not been improvised, it had been rehearsed. That revelation changed the betrayal too. Marcus Vail was no mastermind. He was the corridor. The real broker was a private security consultant named Daniel Seraph, a former compliance contractor who had once designed municipal camera integrations for Southern California clients and later resurfaced as an advisor to charitable institutions handling foreign donors. Seraph's name appeared 3 times in Archive 47, always beside service percentages, always beside erased initials. He had built the blind spots, he had sold them. At 1:03 a.m., public pressure intensified. News vans choked Sepulveda Boulevard. Residents demanded answers. Anonymous law enforcement accounts leaked fragments without context. One senator in Washington issued a statement before dawn that mentioned serious national security allegations without naming the property. Protesters and conspiracy peddlers began converging on barriers while helicopters kept circling the mansion as if the house itself might confess. Inside, the agents cataloged 214 physical exhibits, 63 encrypted drives, 18 phones, 9 forged IDs, and the ledger that held the connective tissue. Archive 47 mapped a $750 million network through donations, real estate logistics contracts, art shipments, and covert procurement channels hidden in plain sight across one of the most watched cities in the United States. The final arrest came quietly. At 1:12 a.m., Sarif was intercepted near Beverly Hills while trying to enter an underground parking structure beneath a medical office tower. He was carrying a replacement passport, 2 storage keys, and a typed note with one sentence underlined twice, "Burn the harbor path." He never reached the elevator. Back in Bel Air, dawn still felt far away. The mansion had become a shell by then, its polished surfaces stripped of mystery and reduced to evidence tags, unbroken concealment panels, and the scrape of pelican cases dragged across stone floors. The gallery corridor no longer looked curated, it looked engineered. Every object had been selected to delay, misdirect, or normalize the presence of a machine hidden beneath domestic luxury. Keene stood near the library as technicians removed the pivot shelf and photographed the stairwell from 6 angles. The house had told its story at last, not willingly. In the days that followed, seizures rippled from Los Angeles to Long Beach, from federal court filings in California to sealed diplomatic cables overseas. Meridian Cultural Exchange Foundation collapsed under emergency review. Ardent Harbor Holdings dissolved into injunctions and asset freezes. Blue Atlas MediaWorks was shuttered. DOJ opened an internal corruption inquiry. ICE and FBI task forces expanded into adjacent cases involving procurement fraud, sanctions evasion, and covert financing, routed through respected civic channels. What the public saw was a raid. What investigators saw was trust converted into camouflage. If a mansion can hide a command structure behind art and marble, if a charity can move power under the language of culture, if one compromised insider can darken a street and bend a federal operation off course, then how many doors in plain sight are only waiting for the right night to open?